Right, Ryder? Or he's tired. I don't know. There he is. All right, so again, we went for a walk. 80 minutes, and we traveled 4 miles. So check this out. This is a good time that we could practice unit rates. So unit rates are the next module that you guys are going to do. And let's start by doing your notebook. So get your notebook out. The one that says Math Semester 1, where the table of contents is in there. And the table of contents, put down today's date. I think it's the 15th. For me anyway, 9/15/2020. Unit rates will be the title. Unit rates. And you have to see what page number you're on. I'm on page 9. So fill out the table of contents. You should have all these notes. If you're missing any of these notes, go back to the modules to look at the videos to take the notes. Okay, then go to whatever page you're on. At the top of the page, write down unit rates. Okay, so before we do a unit rate, we have to know what a rate is. A rate is a ratio. Hopefully you already did the module on ratios, so you know what we're talking about when we say a ratio. Okay, so a ratio is a comparison of two numbers. A rate is a ratio comparing two different units. So write this down. And the example I gave you with walking Ryder is a ratio comparing two different units. I said it took us 80 minutes to walk 4 miles. So a minute is different from a mile. It's got two different units. So it's got numbers, 80 and 40, but the numbers represent different units. Okay, so if you say that is an 80-minute to 4-mile rate, that's what we're talking about there. So that is the rate. I was walking Ryder at a rate of 80 minutes for 4 miles. Or if you want to do miles per minute, then you could say it was 4 miles for 80 minutes. So you have to read the word problem or kind of assess what you're looking for, because they're both comparison of two different things. But do you want to know how many minutes for how many miles, or how many miles for how many minutes? In this example, we're going to use the 80 minutes, and we went 4 miles. All right, because next we're going to talk about, well, what is a unit rate? So a unit rate is a rate where the denominator is 1. The denominator has to be 1. Okay, write this down as well. So again, you could do minutes over miles or miles over minutes, whatever is going to be best for that circumstance. I'm going to stick with this one right here, but if you look right now, my denominator is not 1. My denominator is 4. We're going to talk about how to turn that 4 miles into 1 mile so that we would have a unit rate. So to do that, I'm going to need to erase the board and show you how to do that. But if you need to pause the video to copy this down, then pause the video, because you need to write down the definition of a rate and a unit rate. A unit rate is a rate where the denominator is 1. Pause the video before I erase it if you need to catch up. Okay, so let's take that, that last example we had. The last example we had was 80 minutes, 4 miles. But let's make this equivalent to a different rate where, again, the denominator is 1. Instead of 4 miles, let's make it 1 mile. Okay, so you've already done the module on equivalent ratios, or you should have done the module on equivalent ratios. If not, you should stop right now, go back and do that module, and come back here after you've done that. Because you need to know, how can we make this ratio equivalent to this one, but instead of 4 miles, have it be 1 mile? And the way we do that is we divide by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. But you can't divide the denominator by 4 unless you divide the numerator by 4. Now, if you know what 80 divided by 4 is mentally, then that's what you write there. If you don't know what it is mentally, you could always do it like this. 80 divided by 4, put your hangman blanks in there. 4 goes into 8 twice, multiply, subtract, bring down. 4 goes into 0 0 times. If you already knew it was 20, good for you. 20, but then label it 20 what? In this case, it's 20 minutes. All right, so that tells me I was walking at a rate of 20 minutes per mile. Notice that word per. When you say per, that means for 1. So not for 4 miles, not for 5 miles, not for 10 miles. When you say per mile, that means for 1 mile. 20 minutes per mile. Pretty good. So if I want to walk a little faster, maybe get some better exercise, maybe get my heart rate up, I would try to go a little bit faster, maybe instead of 20 minutes per mile, maybe like 15 minutes per mile or something like that. That means I've got to go a little faster. All right, so that's unit rates. Let's do some more examples. So when you get to the quiz at the end of the module, they might ask you a question like this. They might say that a family was going to a movie. They spent $36 for 6 tickets. So then they might ask the question, how many dollars per ticket is it? And again, that word per, that means for 1 ticket, not for 6 tickets. Per ticket means for 1 ticket. So the way that you would show your work on this, even if you already know the answer, I want you to get used to showing your work. Get used to making a fraction. Now, whatever is the thing that we want to make 1, that has to be the denominator. Because remember, a unit rate is where 1 is the denominator. Do we want to know how much money it is for 1 ticket, or how many tickets for $1? We would really like to know how much it is for 1 ticket. That means the price per ticket. So that tells me tickets goes on the bottom, which means 6 goes on the bottom. So that's my denominator. Okay, so 6 tickets, that means $36 will be the numerator. Okay, so we've got $36 for 6 tickets. We want to know how much per ticket. That means how much for 1 ticket. That's called a unit rate. Okay, so how do you get 6 tickets to change to 1 ticket? You divide it by 6. And you'll notice after doing these a bunch of times, whatever number that is, just divide it by itself. That will always equal 1. But you can't divide the denominator by 6 unless you divide the numerator by 6. Hopefully you know what this equals. If not, you can work it out. But that equals 6. 6 what? $6. So go ahead and label that $6 per ticket, which means $6 for 1 ticket. A lot of you might have already known this as soon as I wrote it out because it was kind of easy. The numbers go together easily. They're not always going to be that obvious, but this one was kind of obvious. $6 per ticket. Again, if I'm going too fast, pause the video, catch up. But I'm going to keep erasing. We're going to keep working through some more problems. All right, next example. Okay, so there was a baker, and the baker sold 72 cakes in 4 days. Now, in the last quiz, some people got kind of confused with ratios. Actually, the second to last quiz. They got confused with ratios because sometimes they would give you the information out of order, but they would ask for it in a different order. So, if I gave you the information in a different order, 72 cakes in 4 days, if I said it took 4 days to sell 72 cakes, notice I changed the order in which I give you the information. Does it mean something different, or does it mean the same thing? So in other words, is selling 72 cakes in 4 days the same as taking 4 days to sell 72 cakes? It's the same exact information. But which makes more sense? If I said, how many cakes per day? Would it make more sense to put the 4 over 72 or 72 over 4? So again, you have to listen and read the words accurately. So if I'm asking you, how many cakes per day? Per day means 1 day. Remember, the denominator is what you want to be 1. So in this case, if we want 1 day, it makes sense to put the days for the denominator. So that, even though the 4 comes first in the order that I gave you the information, you've got to put the 4 as the denominator, 4 days. We're going to change it to 1 day. Now, if the days are on the denominator, that means the cakes is going to be the numerator. Okay, so 72 cakes in 4 days. How many cakes are they selling per day? So what are we going to divide this by to make it 1 day? We'll divide it by itself. So take 4, divide it by 4, now it equals 1. That means divide this by 4. Now, if you know what that is mentally, go ahead and write it down. If not, work it out. Put 72 on the inside, divide it by 4, blank, blank. Okay, so 4 into 7 goes 1 time, multiply, subtract. All this dividing is good practice. Because then you got to divide, then you got to multiply, then you got to subtract. So it's good practice to do those division problems. You get faster and faster. It makes you better at math. In this case, it's 18. 18 cakes per day is the unit rate. So a unit rate is a rate. that compares two different units, like cakes and days are two different units, and you make the denominator 1 to find out how much per, what did we do? We did per minute already. I think we did per minute. No, we did per mile. That first example was per mile. The next example we did was per ticket. This one is per day. There we go. Next example, let's see here. Speaking of per minute, okay, there are two songs. And one song, the tempo is 500 beats and a 4-minute song. 500 beats in 4 minutes. Another song has 411 beats. So it's got less beats, but it's also a shorter song. This one is in 3 minutes. What we want to do is find the song that has more beats per minute. Now again, listen to that, beats per minute. If you want to know per minute, that tells you that minute should be the denominator. So put the beats over the minutes. Now, there are some questions in the quiz like this. So instead of just solving one unit rate, you're solving 2 unit rates to find out which one, in this case, which one has more beats per minute. So, for this one, what number goes over what number? 500 beats, 4 minutes. How do we find out how many beats it is in 1 minute? We are going to divide by 4. Divide by 4. So, 4 divided by 4 is 1. 500 divided by 4 is, what would that be? That would be 1, 2, 5. 125. 125 beats per minute. All right, let's figure out the other song, because we need to figure out which song has more beats per minute. Okay, so for the other song, instead of 500 beats over 4 minutes, this is 411 beats over 3 minutes. Label it. There's beats, there's minutes. We want to figure out 1 minute. I just made up this problem, and I wanted it to go in evenly without like a decimal or a remainder. How do you think I made sure that this number can be divided by 3 easily? And the answer to that is I use my divisibility rules. I know that 4 plus 1 plus 1 is 6. I know 6 is divisible by 3. Therefore, I knew that 411 would be divisible by 3. Let's figure out what is 411 divided by 3. Blank, blank, blank. It's 137. This song has 137 beats per minute. So if this was a quiz question, and the question was, which song has more beats per minute, you'd have to do this work for the first song and the second song. This one has 125 beats per minute. 137 beats per minute is more than that, and so you would select the second song as your answer. So even though the first song has more total beats, that's also a longer song. When you're talking about beats per minute, this one is faster. So if you were the drummer playing this song, you would get more of a workout playing this song, because you got to go faster, even though the song's over sooner. All right, I think we got like 3 more examples, so stick with it. So just like that last one, sometimes you're comparing 2 different things. Let's say we're comparing these 2 things. Let's see here. Let's say you're buying hair gel. So one of the containers of hair gel costs $4.60, and it's a 4-ounce tube of hair gel. Now the same company makes another one that costs $5.22. It's going to cost more, but it's for 6 ounces, so it's a bigger container. Okay, so which one is the better deal? Is it the better deal to spend $4.60 to get 4 ounces, or is it a better deal to spend a little bit more but you get more ounces? Now to find out which one is the better deal, let's get a unit rate. Let's find out how much per something. Now again, we've done problems that were like per ticket, per day, per mile. And this one, it would be per what? Because whatever is per what, that's what has to go in the denominator. And if you said per ounce, you're right. We want the ounces to be in the denominator. We eventually want to find out how much for 1 ounce. How much for 1 ounce? So if we're trying to find out how much does it cost per ounce, what numbers will go here and what numbers will go here? For this one, if you said $4.60 over 4 ounces, you're right. And this one should be $5.22 for 6 ounces. All right. So now the question is, we know how much it costs for 4 ounces. We know how much this one costs for 6 ounces. How much would it cost per ounce? So this one will divide by 4. Divide this by 4. Now, in this case, we end up having a decimal number divided by 4. If you know how to divide with decimals, go ahead for it. I'm going to say you're allowed to use a calculator on this and on the quiz because we haven't really done too much dividing with decimals this year, and I don't want you to get it wrong because you don't know how to divide with decimals. So if you wanted to use a calculator at this point to do the decimal number divided by 4, just put in 4.60 divided by 4, and the calculator will tell you 1.15. Now if that's 1.15, again, think about the label. 1.15 what? Those are dollars. So it's actually $1.15 per ounce. Okay, so over here, we want to get that to be 1 ounce. Oh, by the way, on this one, we're going to have to divide by 6. I wanted this to go in evenly. What do you think I did to make sure that this number is divisible by 6? Well, remember the rule for 6. I had to make sure it was divisible by 2. So is it even? Yep, I made it even. And it has to be divisible by 3. How do I tell if it's divisible by 3? Well, what's 5 plus 2 plus 2? 9. 9 is divisible by 3. That means 522 is also divisible by 3, which makes it divisible by 6. Now again, if you know how to divide with decimals, then go ahead and do your division problem with decimals. If you don't know how to do that, use a calculator. This one's going to be 0, 8, and 7. This one is 0.87, which means $0.87. Okay, so which one's a better deal? $1.15 per ounce or 87 cents per ounce? If you're looking for the better deal, you want to pay the least amount of money. Let's take the 87 cents per ounce. There you go. So again, some of these unit rates that are going to be on the quiz are going to have you comparing 2 different unit rates. And the last one, we were doing beats per minute. We took the higher number. That was more beats per minute. That was a faster song. And this one, what's the better deal? Let's take the lower number. The less amount of money per ounce is the better deal. And let's do one more example before we wrap it up. And again, when you get to the quiz on unit rates, I will let you use a calculator. I'm going to encourage you not to when it's whole numbers, but if it's decimals and you're not really comfortable with dividing with decimals, go ahead and use the calculator. Okay, last example. Okay, 2 people have a job. This person on their paycheck got $602. That was for 14 hours of work. Okay, the other person worked 16 hours. And they got paid $768. Okay, so which person is getting paid more per something? Per what? Well, in this case, it's going to be per hour, which tells us to put the hour as the denominator. So which person is getting more per hour? This person got paid more money, but they also had to work longer. So if we want to know per hour, we want it to be 1 hour and then denominator. So if it's 1 hour in the denominator, check this one out. This one, you put the first number that I gave you over 14 hours. This one I switched around the way that I gave you the information to let you know that sometimes you got to think. Even though the 16 comes first, it doesn't make sense to put the hours in the top. So even though that number's first, that makes more sense to put in the denominator. It makes more sense to put the dollars in the numerator. See, they're not always going to give you in the questions, they're not always going to give you the information in order. You have to take in the information and process. Which one do I want to get per whatever, like per hour? That's the one that goes in the bottom. All right, and what would you divide by to figure this out? You would divide by 14. If you want to do the long division on that, go ahead and do the long division. But again, I'll let you guys use a calculator. I'm just going to use a calculator to figure out this answer. 602 divided by 14, that's 43. 43 what? $43 per hour. All right, that's a pretty good pay rate. What about the other person's job? What do you divide this by? It's divided by 16. And again, if you want to do the long division on this to work it out, you could do that. I'm just going to save some time by using a calculator. $768 divided by 16 hours, that's $48 per hour. So if the question was, who is getting paid at a higher pay rate, or who is getting more dollars per hour, then your answer should be this person right here is getting more dollars per hour. Okay, so that's your lesson on unit rates. If you have any questions, there's some supplemental materials that you can look at in the module, or you can feel free to email me. But there you go. Unit rates. How much per one hour, per one ticket, per 1 mile, per one whatever. Make the one the denominator, and that's how you do unit rates. It's all through division. All right, take care, Panthers. We'll see you soon.